Hello, company Hidizs is really well known among those who like personal audio. They recently launched a really successful Kickstarter campaign for their AP80 DAB. Now I think everyone received the DAB and it was pretty warmly welcomed by the community. And now they going to hold another crowdfunding campaign for their in-ear monitors. They've designed two models that they want to offer, and today I will review the preview version of more affordable model. It's Mermaid MS1. It's single dynamic driver model. Its price will be $100 during Kickstarter campaign. Retail prices will be $150. For additional $20 you can select one additional accessory. You can get balanced cable or USB-C cable with digital to-analog converter. If it will be something like Hidizs Sonata, I think it's a worth addition. Or you can get a Bluetooth version, cable. Or for $140 you can actually get everything, earphones and all the cables. I've got the most basic version because all of these additional options are yet to be produced. Also, they will sell during this campaign 4-driver hybrid model with dynamic driver and 3 balanced armatures in the same case. The price will be $220 during the crowdfunding, but I didn't test them, so now let's have a closer look at this MS1. Case is traditional for Hidizs, black cardboard with embossing, looks pretty nice. On the back panel there are technical specifications, actually 112 decibels, I think it's sensitivity, and probably 18 it's ohms of impedance. I'm not sure, but let's suppose that it's so. Inside you will have in-ear monitors themselves with cable. So yep, internal packaging really reminds recent FIO models. Different set of tips, balanced ear tips, vocal, bass, memory foams. So you can select the tips that will suit you most. Nice black plastic box for holding. So as you can see, accessory set is really good, and for this price range I can say they are really exceptional. In terms of design and build quality, they are really great. Shells made of metal. There are 3 versions. This one is probably called black. Also there will be red and blue available during Kickstarter campaign. As you can see, they are done really nicely. Shape is pretty ergonomic, so they fit nicely into almost any ears. I think even those who have small ears won't have big problems. They have properly aligned spouts, so they will provide a bit above average sound isolation. Spouts have lip to hold the tips, they have protective grill, so everything is done nicely. Company's website and logo are printed. Actually, I like this combination of black and gold colors. Finish is really nice. Level of craftsmanship is also pretty good. They're looking really solid and stylish. Cable is replaceable. They used 2-pin connector. It has enough holding force. It's not easy to disconnect, but you don't need to pull really super hard to disconnect it. Cable is also okay, nothing super fancy, but really okay. So here is ear hook to hold the earphones on their place, and nice silicone isolation. It's pretty soft, so almost zero microphonic effect. It's not getting hard when it's cold. It's not too rigid. Splitter with chin slider, and here it goes, braided down to the regular 3.5mm jack. So as you can see, everything is done nicely. Build quality is really good. Design and finish is also really good. And of course about the sound, after I've tested this in-ear monitors for few days, I thought that probably MS4 have a great potential. I didn't test MS4 and probably I won't be able to do that until the end of crowdfunding campaign and start of mass production, but those I think they are using the same dynamic driver that MS4 uses also, and this dynamic driver here, it really has a great potential. And actually this model is interesting in terms that I can just think how great they would be if here will be added few balanced armatures, because it's great, actually probably maybe not super great, but really good dynamic driver model with all the pluses of typical dynamic driver models and with all the minuses. So let's have some player on the table, and of course I think it's pretty expectable that it will be AP80. Sonically those are V-shaped, and this is a plus and this is probably sometimes a minus. So first of all, its bass here is really good. I like it. It's really well balanced. It's not as fast as in balanced armature models, of course, so speed and resolution here is normal but not super fast, but it's normal. It's probably not the model for listening to some tiny nuances of acoustic bass or for some fortepiano music, but for those who'd like to listen to some electronic music or I don't know, some other genres and styles, they will give you great rumble, punch, and those here have good weight and good depth, but at the same time, they are balanced and they are controlled nicely. They don't shadow mid frequencies, and I pretty like that. And as an example, I won't use di-untoured. It's pretty obvious example, but no, I will use a bit unusual track. It's Moonspell, best heavy metal group ever. Well, maybe at least one of the best. And I didn't like their recent album 1755. I tried to listen it a few times, but with this in-ear monitors, I've got shivers, and now I like this album, and especially this intro song, Em nome do medo. I'm sorry for those who understand Portugal language, probably I pronounced that horribly wrong, but anyway, it's a nice atmospheric track with a lot of notes going really deep, and with Fernando Ribeiro's vocals, with all his he's not singing with growl, but his voice always reminding that soon will be heavy metal parts with growl and vocal and female vocal and lot of atmospheric effects. With this in-ear monitors, this track sounds really atmospheric. Mids are a bit mixed here. Upper mids are have a bit spikes, and lower mids are a bit recessed, so they are lacking a bit of forwardness on the lower mids. And I think that I didn't heard MS4, but I think if they tuned properly, and I suppose they did that, with added balanced armatures, with added forwardness, they will sound great. But here lower mids are a bit recessed, so sometimes some instruments are lacking this forwardness. But anyway, mids have normal resolution. Not super good, but normal resolution, pretty good amount of weight. Of course, it's not balanced armatures, it's normal dynamic mids, and they got really good amount of emotions, and this spike on the upper mids adding a bit of presence to female vocals. Listening to female vocals, I always thinking if only lower mids would be as forward as upper mids, and male vocals sound as forward as female ones. But anyway, they're still pretty enjoyable. They got normal resolution, normal level of emotion representation. Imaginary stage is about average in width and a bit below average in depth, but with normal layering, so pretty normal in terms of staging. And as an example, I will use another pretty famous track. It's Smoke on the Water, live record from Made in Japan. Everyone heard it. I really like this remaster released a few years ago. It's one of the best live recordings ever. It's available on HD Tracks and in some other places, so it's really great piece of classical hard rock, and at that moment when bass starts its line, it's one of the best in the history of world rock music. And those in-ear monitors, you know, they a bit lacking forwardness, but anyway they sound pretty enjoyable, and they definitely reproduce the atmosphere of this concert, so normal mids. And treble here has a bit spike, so if you are treble sensitive, actually you can tame this spike with foam tips or with bass tips. I'm using balanced tips. Forgot to mention that you need to find the proper tips, of course, proper size and the options that will suit you most, because tips changing sound pretty noticeably. So slight spike on the treble, sometimes it gives a bit of extra sibilance, but for me it's still acceptable. But of course it's a matter of subjective preferences. I think that a bit extra treble is better than lacking treble, but at least for me. Attacks and decays are a bit sharper than they should be, and layering is really basic, but extension is nice, and they don't sound too artificial, so normal treble for this price range. As a treble example, what I've got Go Down Fighting by Nazareth. Pretty aggressive track with a lot of cymbals, with a lot of metal and sounding, and models with in-ear monitors with bad treble usually fail with this track. And Hidizs MS1 is pretty okay. Not something super, but pretty okay and acceptable. So to summarize, you know, it's a great dynamic driver model, especially for those who like bass, but not in terms of quantity, but in terms of punch and in terms of depth. So if you like punch and pretty deep bass, if you like all those rumbles and so on, it's a great model. Probably it would be not the best choice for some complex music, because it's single dynamic driver, you know. Only most expensive dynamic driver models can be good for classical music. It's good for jazz, it's good for classical rock, for metal it's pretty acceptable. So, you know, really nice competitive dynamic driver model. Not some giant killer, of course, and probably I suppose that MS4 will be noticeably better, but anyway, pretty good model that I really enjoy. And a few words about comparisons. There are a lot of models in this price range, so just few that I use the best. For example, Osprey KC09, really well balanced model. They are more forward on the lower mids, and they have a bit less treble than those, but this model has more impactful bass and more deeper bass, so it's more for those who like more impact on low frequencies. Another great model is Weezer A15 Pro, and they're also made of metal, also a pretty nice model. They are more resolving and they are more natural, so less accented low frequencies and less depth, but more linear mids and treble. For example, what else we've got in this price range? Honestly, I can't remember. Oh, of course, Ibasso IT01. Ibasso are a bit more aggressive. They are more aggressive on the upper mids, it's most noticeable area, but they also have a bit more low frequencies, but with less depth than those. and they have probably the same amount of treble, but upper mids in iBasso are more forward. So iBasso is for those who like a bit more aggressive and more forward representation. So to summarize it, this was Hidizs M1 Mermaid. They are available during Kickstarter campaign with good discount. You can get additional options with them. I can probably really recommend the cable with USB-C. I think it will be the same that they use in their Sonata digital to analog converter. And also there will be MS4. I suppose they will be a good model too, but I didn't listen to them. So MS1, interesting model for those who like impactful bass first of all, but with accented upper mids and treble too. So V-shaped signature with good bass. Thank you for attention.